All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakudash. Double honor to the elders and apostles, the great millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the elect scattered abroad. All right, this is Brother Barbazal here with a lesson, and Lord willing, that's edifying. All right, and the title of this lesson will be, we must continue to endure and spiritually prepare for what's to come. All right, in Salakia, a little bit under the weather, but this word has to continue to go out. All right. So just going into the times that we in, we have to continue to prepare spiritually, right? Because as this man Esau is, forwarding his NWO and continuing to come with that great wrath, right? As this man is being exposed, we understand that the Lord is getting ready to make his return. And with that being said, we're expecting, great death to be about, right? Plagues, different, prophecies to come about. And, without the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, you pretty much get caught up in the destruction of this place. You see? So this is the book of Isaiah 33:6. It says, and wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of thy times, and strength and salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. Yeah, when you think about a treasure or something that's not easily obtainable, something that's precious, right? And that's likened unto this truth. Because for one thing, this truth is only for those remnant believers, right? Going into the elect. We understand that during this current time, the Lord isn't dealing with the whole nation. This is only gonna only the elect is gonna take heed to this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You see, so this word, right, being the scriptures, our faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is gonna, comfort us during those times, be our stability, and we have faith and believe that the Lord is gonna provide that hedge, right? Provide that protection, in order for, the elect to be preserved. And even with that being said, there's still going to be martyrs for this thing, but we still believe that, most is going to make it out, is going to make it to the chariots. So even with that being said, if it's your lot to be a martyr of this thing, we believe that the Lord is going to put the spirit on certain individuals, to take that cheerfully. It's an honor, just having the spirit that, it being an honor to die, for this truth, for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Because, what's going to happen is, you're going to have first dibs, on those chariots and those new bodies. See? So we're not afraid of, being put to death on this side. You see? So this is the book of Luke 21-34 says, and take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. So we're not to be caught up in, folly, building a life on this side, thinking of what we're going to do 10 years from now. We're to be occupied in these prophecies, occupied in, these different world events. All right. Not rubbing elbows on different podcasts and, trying to make a name for ourselves on this side. We understand that a part of this thing is sacrificing these, different worldly benefits, your career, whatever different, things to obtain in this life, because we're seeking something greater than this. You see, and we're hastening in the day of the coming of the Lord. It says, for as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell on the face of the whole earth. Yeah, because, these people are living, kind of oblivious to what's really about to happen. You have Christians or plantation Christianity believing that there's going to be a rapture. They're not going to go through a time of tribulation. And just by default, just when you think about that, these different people ain't prepared for what's to come. People say that, we live in the book of Revelation, the end times, this, that, and the third, but they don't truly have the faith. They think that the scriptures is, they think of being a man of the Lord means by leading by your heart, which the scriptures say that the heart is desperately wicked. So a lot of these people is going to fail during the hour of temptation, take the MOTB, get caught up in the destruction, not really know what's going on because, they're not being spiritually built up. You see? So let's get the next scripture. So this is the book of Matthew 24:9. It says, then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. Yeah, and that's what's going to come with it. We're already going through, being hated, being slandered, all right, being scoffed at, mocked at, demonized, whatever the case may be. But it's going to come to a certain point where, certain, men of the Lord is going to be putting it into, persecuted, right, putting it into different FEMA camps and, things of that nature. And, we had to be, meditating on these different things, because whatever your lot is, you want to be ready for it through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, because, we're coming into the time of the climax of Jacob's trouble, because, we already believe that, we're in that time, but things is going to continue to intensify, and if you don't have, the Lord with you, then you're going to get caught up in that destruction. All right. So verse 11, or Salakia, I want to go down to verse 13. It says, but he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. All right. And I wanted to get that word endure, right, which goes into this word hupomino or hypomino. It says, just going to the point, to persevere under misfortunes and trials, to hold fast to one's faith in Hamashiach, to endure, bear bravely and calmly ill treatments, to undergo, bear trials, have fortitude, persevere, abide, endure, suffer, right? So this is what in the word endure means, that we have to be willing to do that. You have certain Israelites, that's woken up to the fact that, their heritage and things like that, but they're not willing to suffer. They're not making their bodies a living sacrifice. You got a lot of weak, Israelites in this thing. Certain Israelites not even willing to eat the bitter herbs during the Passover. Living that good life on this side. And these different Israelites, they're not gonna be ready for what's to come. When the martial law troops is busting in their door, all right, when they're persecuted, when all these different things come to pass, they're not going to be spiritually built up for what's to come, because they're not occupied in prophecy. They don't go into the prophecies. They believe that this kingdom is going to keep on going. Maybe another 1,000 years, maybe not in their lifetimes. They're not thinking about the kingdom. They're not thinking about the Lord's return. So that's why these different, false prophets and such, is going to get caught up in that destruction. And at that point, it's going to be too late because, hey, you got the prophets, the men of the Lord, right? Starting with the elders and apostles of GMS on down, rebuking, warning these different people or Israelites, to, get in on the prophecies, go into the name of the Lord, take heed to the times and the times that we're in, right? Take heed to the signs of the times, right? But you have different Israelites worried about, buying land and, land blitzes and, putting folly into the truth and, just running around, dancing, having a good time, not truly, being willing to suffer in this thing. And that's what this thing is about. That bitterness. Jake is all about the honey and not about the bitterness. See? But let's get Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. Yeah. And and this is one of the main reasons why we want to stay in the spirit, because we want to be refined, to the point where Lord's will, the Lord can keep us from the hour of temptation. You still got guys that don't want to go into the mark of the beast, butchering the breakdown, saying the mark of the beast is an embargo and, this system, currency, just all type of madness. These are the different guys that's going to take to see him, because, they can't, identify what it is, and they're leading their congregation to the slaughter. All right. Now let's read that again, Revelation 3:10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience. I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So you're going to have to be tried, man. You see? But these different people that's weak, not being built up, using this word for filthy lucre's sake, not suffering for the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, trimming their way to seek love. These are the type of people that's going to be tried, and ultimately they're going to fail. They're going to fail the test because they don't truly have faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, right? Those that scoff against the name of the Lord, saying we don't have the name of the Lord, saying the name of the Lord don't matter. We don't have the Hebrew. These are the type of people that the Lord ain't dealing with. You see? So this is the book of 2nd Ezra 15:1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. And that's constantly what we do through these lessons, going out in the highways and hedges to warn our people. And you don't really hear nobody going into prophecy like the men of GMS. You don't hear that from IUIC, ISUPK, right? The Genesis, now known as TGC, ministries, which they just, they're all about saving the damn heathen, which they gonna get destroyed. You see? So these different other camps are all over the place, but, GMS, is staying on topic, which we go into prophecy. Verse 2, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction, and all these different things will intensify. This is going into the time of Jacob's trouble. We're also, beginning to see a famine, right? Death, more death, destruction, judgment. People that's going to die by the sword. So this is going to be very, very, very scary times that we coming in. And this is why you want to be occupied in these prophecies and ultimately, prayer, right? And being in the spirit, because we understand the type of times that we're in. This ain't the time. This ain't the time to tarry and being in that spirit of mirth and all that other madness. We gotta stay. We gotta stay on topic, right? Which we understand that. We at the end. We seeing the signs of the Lord's coming. Different rumors of war. This man Esau being exposed, right? Pursuing the 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, going into the falling away, right? Which the Israelites losing their inheritance and going into that and ultimately remembering themselves. And then Esau being revealed as that son of perdition, as being the wicked. You see the different EP files. This man is being exposed on a global scale, you see, of being the wicked. And eventually it's going to come to the point where these different nations is going to continue to be mad and eventually retaliate in the form of thermonuclear missiles being shot at this place and Babylon being destroyed. All right. Verse 6, for wickedness hath exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Therefore saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Yeah. So these people is going to have to end up being judged because they hate knowledge. They started with the Israelites because they chose not to repent. They chose not to take heed, to the message that, the men of the Lord is preaching. Verse 9, and therefore saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Yeah. So, we into a time where, we're going to have to solely depend on the faith that we built up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and believe that the Lord is going to keep us. We believe that there's going to be men of the Lord that receive that spiritual power, man. And hey, you got to have faith to believe in that. You don't really hear, these other groups going into spiritual power, going into, the ways that, Israelites will be delivered. So we have to, constantly think about the times that we're in, and also remember that the Lord, is dealing with us, and he's going to keep us. And Lord's will, we can be a part of that number, the elect that ultimately, receives salvation, avoiding, getting destroyed in this place, being in the chariots, receiving those new bodies, and, being those first fruits once the kingdom of heaven is established, putting these different heathens into slavery, started with the Edomites. All right. But that'll do it with the lesson, and Lord willing, it was edifying. So with that, I'd like to give all honor, praise, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Hashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Shalom.